getting to Gili tea is pretty straightforward stuff. Any street side vendor can help you out with that. We incorporated Nusa Lembongan, as you can see here, before going to Gili. It's about a 2.5 hour boat ride from Nusa to Gili. The cheapest we saw the ferry ride cost was about 800,000, but it can go up to about 1.4 or more. At the time of our departure, $1 Canadian worth about 10,500, so in total $76 to about 133 will get you to Gili. So a lot of people are unsure about the way to travel or the way to backpack. The way that Southeast Asia works, and obviously Gili tea, is you can stay at a place like a homestay, what they call guest houses. Yeah, your own kind of private room, obviously. It's a little bit more higher end than a hostel. But when you land at the harbor, the best thing to do is to not have a spot. That's going to be the most affordable. It's not as stable because you don't have somewhere to land. So coming to a place like Gili tea, where obviously the economy is based on tourism, it's going to be pretty easy to find a spot. If it's somewhere that's a bit more obscure, where there's not as many places for accommodation, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So there's going to be a lot of people that come up to you and ask you to come to their spot. Obviously those are going to be better prices than online. The place we're staying right now is 350,000. Online it says it's about 600,000. So there's obviously a markup. I think we saved about 200,000 a night probably. Villas are the best route to go if you have a lot of people. They go from anywhere between 1 million and obviously upwards of that. You're gonna get places that are super posh and beautiful, and then you can also get places that, I think the first place I stayed here was 150,000 a night, which is $15, and if you're sharing it with somebody, that's like $7 a night. It wasn't as clean as I'd probably have liked. Sometimes you'll go out and have a drink that's more expensive than your accommodation for one night, so.
So true.
Next order of business is transportation around the island. If you have a lot of luggage or a lot of people, the transportation around the island is horse-drawn carriages. They claim it's about, for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it's about 100,000, roughly about $10 Canadian. If you're sharing that with a whole bunch of people, obviously it's a way better deal. You can get a bike, albeit not a very good bike, for about 50,000 on Gili tea, and you can get it for 24 hours. Now, just like anything, the more you rent, or the longer you rent for, the better the deal is. As the product gets better, so as the bikes get a little bit more substantial, better treading, better tires, you can get some pretty badass off-roading bikes for a little bit more expensive, so. The only gas-powered vehicle that I've seen on the island is the garbage truck that comes at about 5 a.m. Other than that, there's maybe like 5 or 6 electrical-powered scooters that you see people roaming around on. Typically, it's all bicycles, and again, you can rent those for pretty cheap. It took me about 35 minutes non-stop to run around the island or jog around. To walk, it'd probably take you about an hour and a half. So just as a rule of thumb, that's kind of roughly how big the island is. The way the island is kind of designed is it's kind of like an oval. And on one side of the island, there's a lot of high traffic area. And then on the other side of the island, it's a little bit less developed. It's definitely looking like it's going to be developed a lot in the next 5 years or so. Everyone asks about ATMs on the island. There's tons of ATMs. Now you can find an ATM basically every 100 meters. Funny enough, the two ATMs that either I really like, BNI, and the one that I absolutely despise, BRI, happen to be right beside each other on Gili tea here. This plus sign, that's key right there. Prior to coming to Gili tea, a lot of people said that Gili tea is pretty expensive. I don't find it as expensive as places like Seminyak in terms of restaurant prices. The barbecue on the island is probably on average about 140,000, and anywhere above that, that gets you all you can eat salad and sides, and then any kind of fish and ribs or anything like that. In terms of going out and partying and stuff, the cheapest, most affordable way to do that on Gili tea is by going to stores that sell probably bottles of liquor or beer. The markup on cocktails is huge at restaurants, so you can buy kind of a Mickey-sized vodka, which is, how many milliliters in a Mickey? A Mickey's a small glass bottle. Is that right? We'll probably show you when we get back home.
Well, it's 13 ounces, so I don't know what the hell it is in milliliters.
We bought a small bottle of gin, vodka, whatever it is, at just the local store for 125,000, which is about 1250 Canadian. And we've also been at restaurants where one cocktail is more expensive than that. What we've noticed too is that the drinks aren't as strong as typically the ones that we've had in Canada. So short pouring, whatever, that might be something that happens here. I'm not going to say that it does. I'm just saying that it seems to me like every time I have a cocktail, it's very, very tame. Just as Red Bull, so just like a typical can of Red Bull.
Yeah, beer's only 30,000. This was 32,000.
A lot of people smoke cigarettes. It's 26,000 for a pack of Marlboro Lights. 26,000 is about $2, $2.50 Canadian. I've also seen prices that are a little bit less expensive than that too. So bottles of Bintang. So Bintang obviously is their local Pilsner, is 26,000. That's a pretty good price. Cans of Pepsi, 8,000 rupiah. Tim Tams. This one looks pretty expensive. These are like milk wafers with cream or something. The bags of chips, 10,000. Ooh, that one, 18,000. Let's not forget the call to prayer that happens 6, 7, 8, I don't know how many times a day, but quite frequently. So a big part of coming to Gili T and going to Lombok as well is the hiking trip to Mount Ranjani. So a lot of people want to know how much that is. There's 3 different options. You can do 2 days, 1 night. You can do 3 days, 2 nights, or you can do 4 days, 3 nights. The 4 days, 3 nights is 2 million. The 3 day, 2 nights is 1.8, and the 2 days, 1 night is 1.6 million rupiah. Well, if you were to have accommodation for 2 nights or 3 nights, I mean, how much would that set you back already, right? Maybe 500,000? So if you were to take that 500,000 just for accommodation alone on the Mount Ranjani hike, you know, it's pretty worth it. Now in terms of scuba diving and snorkeling, scuba diving can be anywhere between 900,000 and up to 14 million, depending on kind of what course you're taking. There's tons of courses that you can take, obviously from beginner and intermediate to your dive master, which again is about 14 million. Snorkeling's about 80,000 for 4 hours. It's a public boat. There's probably about 50 people and upwards of that go on it. So with all that being said, really appreciate you guys taking the time to enjoy a little guide to Gili. Hope you learned something. For some reason we tried to rent books, and books are super expensive on the island too to rent. It's like 100,000 and then 100,000 for a deposit. And then what's the other 100,000 for? There's another 100,000 somewhere there in there as well. So it's like 20 or 30 bucks to just rent a book. You obviously get the deposit back. It's still pretty expensive.